So it is Monday, and I have a glass of wine, and so that means it's time to talk about Beast Morphers. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Britt, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you probably should, because I talk about geeky things, and today we're going to talk about Beast Morphers, the episode that aired on Saturday, obviously, like we do every Monday. If you guys want to skip the entire episode recap, you guys don't want to know how I tell the story, which of course does give you a little insight into how I felt about the episode, you can go ahead and hit this timestamp right here. It'll bring you just to my thoughts with as little spoilers as humanly possible about the specific episode. So I hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you guys later. So this episode is called The Blame Game. I'm not a huge fan of the name of the episode because it kind of alluded to something else, but that's okay. We all know by now that Judlin is terrible at his job, so let's just move on from that. This episode opens with the Rangers playing football out in the park, and this little girl and her dad are sitting on a park bench, and she throws a little bit of trash on the ground. Her father freaks out to the point that I would be slightly concerned that this father was in fact an abusive human being, and tells her that she's in just so much trouble. Like, it was such an awkward moment that it was just very strange. It's not big enough for me to actually put in the end. It just was really awkward and dumb and was slightly abusive. Hi, whoever actually wrote this episode, do you have children? Because you might not want. Maybe you shouldn't. Steele is rightfully upset about all of this, but all the others are like, no, it's just a dad teaching their child not to do bad things. And I'm sitting there like, wow. But this then gives Steele an idea that maybe he needs to start disciplining some of the people that need disciplining, because, you know, it's up to Steele to do that. We jump over to where the bad guys are, and it is quite clear that Evox is after Nate, and they create a puppet monster in order to be able to control Nate. Ben and Betty are out in the front of the base. They are sucking up some leaves with a leaf sucker, and not a fan. You guys know this. They decide that it sucks in the bad way, and that they needed to power it up. So they powered up with some Morphers, because that's a good idea. And they end up sucking up an entire tree. Because they're funny. Steele ends up berating a kid who is just checking people as they are walking into the building, and for not checking this girl's lunchbox, for not scanning it, for making sure that there was no kind of explosives in it. And he berates this guy and tells him to go help Ben and Betty clean up the plaza. And so he goes out and he does that. The others are telling him that he's being a little harsh, and yet he's giving this guy less of a punishment than what the father gave his daughter, so I don't know. Robo Blaze and Robo Roxy come with the puppet monster to try and control Nate, and the way that they're going to do that is by this virus-infused puppet. So they have a second virus-infused puppet that they give to this kid that was just berated by Steele, and then they tell him to bring the other puppet to Nate, which of course he does, and then Nate is in fact controlled by the puppet monster. Later, the other four are hanging out, and Steele is being very proud of all the people that he has punished for all this time, all the people that he has done horrible things to and been a horrible person to. The Rangers learn of an attack by a Robotron, so they go off to fight the Robotron, and that's where they find Nate being controlled by said Robotron. And this is where they learn that he's being controlled, and then a fight breaks out with the Tronics and Nate, and the monster is just kind of sitting back and doing nothing. Of course, the other Rangers are trying really hard not to hurt Nate because they know that he's being controlled. They know that this isn't really Nate, then they can't destroy him. So they're trying really hard not to hurt him, but of course Nate is going all out. It's a very normal concept of Rangers being controlled that has happened numerous times throughout the course of Power Rangers history. This just happens to be an overused story. It's fine. After the fight is done, the monster takes Nate back to Evox's lair in order to finish the calculations that need to be done because Nate's brain is still working, but yet he's being controlled by the puppet master. So Nate still has a brain that can do all of his smart things, and yet his brain is being controlled by the monster. Anybody else find issue with that? Just me? Okay. After Nate completes the programming, Evox and the others all decide to send not just one Gigadrone, but 2 Gigadrones to attack the Rangers. Ben and Betty tell Devin that they think they saw Nate out back, so Devin goes off to go find that. The other Rangers all get in Zords, and they go to fight the 2 Gigadrones. And one of them is the puppet monster, just bigger, but not the puppet monster, because that's not how this season works. Because it's not how this season works. I'm pretty sure this is also not how the Sentai. I'm pretty sure it's not how the Sentai works either. I'm pretty sure they followed, like, you get it. So as Devin is out there looking for Nate, Nate is hiding and he comes at him with a big, huge weapon. And this is when the kid that got fired, oh, forgot to mention, they actually find out that the kid that had not checked the package before was the one that brought in the package to give to Nate, and then they fired him. Steele fired him. And so the kid that got fired was able to find Devin and yell, "Look out!" And so Devin was able to stop Nate from murdering him, which is great because that would have not sat well with Nate once he was back to normal. Those two start fighting, Morphed, and the others are all fighting these Gigadrones. And of course, Ravi's Zord gets attacked and is controlled by the new puppet, the big puppet Gigadrone, the puppet master Gigadrone. And now they are fighting another one of their own. Granted, Ravi's not being controlled, nor is Smash, but the Zord is physically being controlled. So they are completely out of control. Matter of fact, when they hit Steel, Ravi just apologizes because obviously he did not intend for that to occur. Devin was able to destroy the puppet with the puppet monster, and that was what freed Nate from that power. And so Nate just kind of sat beside Devin as Devin put on his Beast X powers, the new Beast X powers that we introduced last episode, and then he attacks the monster and destroys that monster. And then right at the same time, Zoe gets the idea that she can do the same thing without realizing that that's what Devin did. And so she's able to destroy the puppet, the big puppet, and give, you know, Ravi back control of his Zord, which is great. Devin and Nate join in the Zord fight. They destroy the 2 Gigadrones, and all is well again in the town I can never remember the name of. When they're back at the base, Nate tells them that he has no memory of what happened, that everything is a fog, which is exactly what the kid who was controlled by the puppet monster said when he came back to after being controlled by the puppet monster to give the next puppet over to Nate. And that was when Steele realizes that he made a huge mistake, and so he wanted to correct the mistake by hiring him back, obviously. Also, Ben and Betty, because they're funny, decided to plant a seed and put this uber, huge, powerful fertilizer, just one little tiny drop, and it turned into, a foot-tall tree. So then they accidentally pour the entire thing on the thing when the others are coming out of the building to talk to the kid. And while they're talking to the kid who got fired, this tree explodes into a fully mature adult tree, because that's how fertilizer works. And Ben and Betty are stuck up in the tree, and everybody awkwardly laughs, and that is how the episode ends. So there you guys have it, the episode known as The Blame Game. That's how it ended. That's how it went. So why don't I like the name The Blame Game? Well, that is because it ensues that the concept of what Steele is going through is going to be the main premise, when actually that's the B story. You don't name an episode after the B story. The actual story itself is about the puppet monster and about Nate being controlled. That's the A story. Why on earth did they name it after the B story? Makes no sense to me. But, you know, Judlin. But yeah, you don't name an episode after the B story, you name it after the A story. So this should have been like Controlled or Puppet Mayhem or something to that extent should have been the name of this episode. But it was not because they decided to name it after the B story. I don't get it either. You might not get it. You might get it. I don't know. Explain to me in the comments below why they named it after the B story, because that makes literally no sense to me, even in the slightest. So I don't know. I don't get it. It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. And it ain't good episode. I actually didn't write anything down for good. I just wrote things down for bad. Something I've never understood about this season at all, like when I say season, I understand there are 2 seasons, but I count one story. Beast Morphers is going to be just 1 season. Ninja Steel is 1 season. Dino Charge is 1 season. Like, just let me have it be 1 season, okay? It's 1 season of Power Rangers. It is the name of what it is until it changes its name. It's not this. It's the same thing. Anyway. So what I don't understand about this particular season is how Steel can run around, but every time the Beast Bots are out in public, it's like, oh, nobody can see the robots. But yet Steel, a robot, a silver robot, the Silver Ranger, can walk around town and everybody will be like, hey, it's a robot. Like he's a human. I've never understood that about this particular season. It just makes no sense to me. I don't like it. Judlin, you're one of the reasons why I drink. You made In Space. You made half of RPM. You made Time Force. You made Lost Galaxy. Why does Power Rangers look like this now? The Controlled storyline. Very overused storyline. I feel like there's so much more they could have done because this whole episode felt really rushed. All these episodes feel really rushed. I think Nickelodeon just really advertises their shows. It's just really frustrating. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It's so irritating. But either way, this episode could have easily been mixed up into 2 separate episodes with more story of how Nate is being controlled. Plus, I hate how they do the controlled thing. Either they have these weird dark circles and nobody notices, or they're robot kind of people now. And again, this should be things that people notice, but they don't. They need to be able to make it seem like they can actually be the people that they are controlling, if that makes sense. Like they should be acting normal. It's just I wish I was in control of Beast Morphers because it would look so different. It would be the same story. That's fine. I like the story, but the actual execution is just bad. Has so much potential, and then it just does an episode like this. It's just, I was not a fan of this episode, did not like this episode. I know it's completely Nate-centric, who is my favorite character in this entire season, but you know what, here's the thing. Nate is great in everything. I think Abraham's a great actor. I think everybody in this show, for the most part, are good actors. All the main people are good actors, minus a couple of green issues that I've talked about over time. I didn't like this episode. It was very, very frustrating because there were so many times where I'm like, this makes no sense. This is not right. This is not okay. I saw abuse happening at the very beginning and all the Rangers like, oh, it's okay. Like, no. This episode made me angry and I don't like it. And I'm just done with this episode. Done with this episode review. There was nothing good about this episode. It was Nate-centric. There you go. There's something good. Oh my gosh. I have not been that angry about a Power Rangers episode since. I think that's the most angry I've been about a Power Rangers episode. It's fine. It's not, but it has to be. I have no other choice than to be okay with it.